Welcome to today's presentation. We have the pleasure to present Inderes. To present the company and the results, we are joined here by CEO Michael Rautanen. In today's end, we will take a look into your Q1 results you released yesterday. I think it was showed flattish growth, but I think there was also some movements between Q1 and Q2, maybe on the big part of your AGM and live events business. So maybe that's a little bit, you will dig deeper into that. And for full disclosure, we must say we have a partnership. You own 20% of us, so that is out of the way for full disclosure. Questions can be asked in the box down below. But for now, I will hand the word over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. And welcome everyone on my behalf as well. Let's dive into the first quarter and how the year started. In our financial statements release, we said that we're going into a year where we need to move faster forward, even to keep in place, and kind of like that's the narrative for short term, given the market conditions, which means that during the past 2 years, there's been a lot of acquisitions in Helsinki Stock Exchange, and many of those acquisitions have been targeted to some of our bigger clients. So we have lost some of our clients because of those acquisitions, which means that we need to win more new business to stay on the growth track. The good thing is that we've been investing to growth for several years now, and those investments are at the same time paying off. But overall, Q1 revenue fairly flat, and profit fairly flat as well. We're winning new customers in Sweden, while in Finland the number of customers has decreased, and also revenue declined slightly. We're seeing good growth in our AGM product. We keep winning more market share here in Finland, while we are piloting in Denmark and Sweden as we speak. The IR software business is still small pocket of revenue, showing good growth numbers, but since it's still a pretty small revenue stream, those big growth percentages are not that much reflected on the overall top line growth. And then in Sweden, 9% growth year on year at the same time. So Sweden is going okay. That's the story of the kind of like the market cycle we are living in right now. I know it will turn at some point, which means that more investors coming to the market and more IPOs, which is always good for our business. But right now, this is the time for us to invest in our product portfolio, invest in our sales capabilities, and invest in our international platform that we're building, so that we are in a really strong position once the market picks up. So cycles are part of the game, and we're fine with pushing through them. If we move on to the Inderes flywheel and how that's developing, so I'd say in Finland the flywheel is spinning really smoothly and in a stable way. And if we look outside Finland, I'd say on an international level we are still in the process of building the infrastructure for the flywheel. And once we've built the infrastructure, then we need to start pushing the flywheel to start spinning. And that work is going forward according to our strategy that we outlined in May last year. Number of listed companies growing by 9% year on year. That's driven by new won customers in Sweden, while the number of customers in Finland has declined. But there I need to mention that we have not lost any business to competitors or something like that. It's because of companies being delisted from the market. Although if you delist the company, then there's basically not much services that the Inderes could offer. The community, active amount of community members, 74,000, a slight growth year on year. So that is rebounding from the dip that we saw during the weakest market conditions, and the amount of personnel, that's fairly flat. So we scaled up our organization quite a bit after the IPO 2.5 years ago, and now we have the resources and capabilities in place to execute on the strategy that we outlined a year ago.
And there's a question on the
Yes, please.
community members, Michael, and maybe not so much in the numbers, but maybe the activity. Are you seeing, I know the Finnish market is still pretty flattish, but we have seen a pickup and rebound in some of the global markets. Are you seeing that also picking up the activity levels, you might say, on your forum in general?
I'd say throughout the bear market, the activity level of the core community has remained extremely high, but then it's been more of a getting in new community members, new users. That's been more on the challenge. And yeah, I know it's way more positive market momentum in other markets outside Finland. I mean, Helsinki Stock Exchange continues to perform extrememely poorly, and I mean, one funny thing here is like on the Inderes forum we have a thread for memes. So the community is doing all kinds of memes, and the most popular memes right now are regarding the poor performance of Helsinki Stock Exchange. So it's becoming a bit of a I don't know if it's joke is the right word, but
it's a theme.
Yeah. But I think it's fun that while the community is still it's really high quality discussion, but we also have humor, we have fun, we make investment not only about it's still hard facts and so on, but it's also in one way there's room for being a bit more entertaining, which I think the community is building their own content, which is great.
And if you want, I think if you want a broad one, that it's necessary, right? And hey, we are in the Nordic, if we can't laugh of it, it shouldn't be, no matter how dark it is, right? So that sounds great.
Going to the business units. So the first one, equity research. The contract portfolio grew by 3% year on year. Small decline in Finland in the number of customers, and then the growth comes from Sweden. The Finland business remains extremely sticky. So if we look at the industry, what we're seeing that many of the vendors are losing their contracts with us. It's really sticky, and I'd say we are one of the few players in this industry who are actually investing in this, because I think right now is the time to invest in this business area. We are growing, we are investing in this, though it's a tough market to get growth. One of the successes we've seen is we've now had distribution agreements with Nordnet and Avanza, which means that we have very competitive reach on a Nordic level, which lifts the competitiveness of the product significantly. So with the commissioned research, you need two things. You need high quality independent research, and then you need reach, because if the research doesn't reach the target groups, the investors, then it doesn't have value for the company to pay for it, and those are the two things we are working on. But I need to mention that our approach, which is based on 100% independence, meaning that we do issue critical views on our paying clients, has been surprising for the Sweden market. we have had very, I would say, strange discussions that we never have in Finland in the Sweden markets. Investors freaking out for the companies. How can you pay for Inderes to publish a reduced rating on your stock? Like that's outrageous. And these are the type of the discussions that we kind of like never have in Finland, because like people understand that's the way. It's Inderes independent equity research. You don't need to explain that in Finland, but obviously we need to change the market dynamic quite a bit, or the culture around research in Sweden. But
there's a question from the outside. Progress, but a little bit slow in Sweden. Are you thinking on changing the concept a little bit compared to Finland? You know, sometimes you are. There is too big a cultural difference between markets, even for big companies, that they need to twitch a little bit on how they attack markets and so on, and how they do business. I was thinking on a little bit on the different concept from Finland, where you are the one and consolidator and everything, and then to Sweden, where you are the challenger, you might say, right? So any thoughts about, have you changed a little bit on your concept going into these markets?
I'd say independent research should be the same no matter in which country you operate. The fundamentals are the same, and independence is something that we don't compromise. If it takes longer time to ramp it up while sticking to independence, then we just accept it. But then going into sales tactics and marketing tactics and so on, there of course we are continuously working on how we should play the game. But the core product, independent equity research, that is the core product is the same, and the long-term tactic is that this is not a competition to win the companies. This is a competition to win the investors. I think that's something the whole industry needs to start understanding, because that's the only way to build up a truly functioning research market that also covers the small and mid-cap companies, that is accessible for all investors. I mean, the European Commission has good data on this. In Finland, the analyst coverage for small and mid-cap companies is 82%. In Sweden, the analyst coverage for small and mid-cap companies is, I guess it was 32%. It's a huge task to change this market dynamic, but long term, I mean, this is the way the industry is going to go, and we're going to be driving that change forward very, very aggressively, I'd say.
Perfect.
But yeah, in a way, it's challenging to change a market and culture, but in a way, it's also extremely exciting. I mean, we're all like fired up in shaking up existing markets a bit. Then going to the events business. So here we saw growth in Sweden, but decline in Finland. We're doing really well in the AGM event production. So for AGMs, we do the event production for the companies and also the AGM software part. And these are like bundled together, but one part of the revenue goes to the software and one part to the events. The AGM event side is performing well. The interim report broadcasts, we have, I guess tomorrow it's 40 live broadcasts going on at the same time at the Inderes. So it's that's a stable and a sticky part of the business. But then this business area, we operate only on the online and hybrid events side of the events industry. in investor relations, it's kind of like market standard that events are always online or hybrid. But when going outside the investor relations, we are still suffering from the trend of post-COVID events shifting from online and hybrid to physical only, which is an area where we don't have any business. Looking at our core products here, the AGM season, I'd say we've nailed it. That has gone in line with our plans, and then for the second half, a big revenue driver for us is the Capital Markets Day season, and of course how will especially the large cap companies, how much Capital Markets Days will they run, and with what type of budgets they will do those event productions. Then the last part of our business units, investor relations software, growing strongly on all products, growing revenue and growing the number of customers. So this one we can be really happy with. And this business area is shifting from the product development phase to scaling up commercially. That's going very well and as planned. So we're scaling up in Finland right now, and also working on localizing the products for our selected target markets. Big driver for the revenue in this business area in the first half is the AGM product. So we're further strengthening our market position here. It's 120 clients on the AGM product so far. So we are in the Finland market. We are pretty strong, I'd say. So far, like the last 3 years has been for us building up the market position, the concept in Finland. Which means that we've been really successful in scaling up the number of clients, scaling up the revenue. AGMs in total, AGM-related revenue is already over 10% of Inderes' full revenue. But we are not. This is not yet a significant profit driver for us, the AGM side. We are still making quite a bit of investments to ensure the deliveries of these productions, because this is a business where you need to have 100% success in the deliveries, and that's why that is reflected on our margins on this product. But going forward, we will need to start working on how we deliver them in more efficiently, with better gross margins, and that also on our pricing, because we have a really strong position in Finland. We have extremely happy and satisfied customers. Next stage is to turn it into a profitable business in Finland, which will long term work as the runway for us to scale this product as well to new markets. So at the same time, we are also working on pilot AGMs in Sweden and Denmark, but not yet this year on a commercial scale, working in these markets. So that's briefly the business areas. Diving a bit deeper into the numbers. So revenue growth 1%. So in March, our revenue year on year declined, and this is partly because of the AGM season last year was quite weighted on March. This year, the AGM season is bit more spread out to April and May as well, which means that there's a slight deviation between Q1 and Q2. but overall still quite flattish numbers. Recurring revenue, 55% of all revenue. Here as a reminder, the AGMs are reflected on our project revenue, but for me, the AGMs, if you deliver them well, then the customer, and you have ongoing contracts with the customers, the frame agreements, then like I'd say it's reoccurring in nature, the AGM part as well. Cost structure, there are some minor accounting details related to that maybe I will not dive deeper into them, but the materials and services cost item, that's seasonally high because of the outgoing costs related to especially the bigger AGM productions. EBITDA margin 11% compared with 13% a year ago. Outlook for this year remains unchanged. So revenue we expect to grow from last year, and profitability on EBITDA percentage to remain at the or to improve from the previous year, and the underlying assumptions also the same. We're not expecting our market to grow in Finland, but we expect ourselves to grow because of entering new markets and the growth from our new products. All right, so that was basically the first quarter in a nutshell. Any questions at this stage?
Yeah. Your margin been pretty flattish. You maybe touched a little bit upon, but there's a question: how do you expect to drive margin improvement going forward? You know, you still guide for margins to improve during the year. Is that some phasing? Is that other levers you are going to pull during the rest of the year?
It's about being disciplined with our cost structure and then driving the top line growth. Especially this year, the profitability improvement in the software business is an important driver.
Perfect. Then talked about a pipeline side on the IPO side in Finland. Has there been any change, anything moving ahead, or do you need to see more positive homegrown markets? You know, the Finnish stock market actually starting to pick up in pricing and return before you expect, or is there some movements due to the fact that we are starting to see a little bit of, I wouldn't say it's still not an IPO craze, but we are starting to see IPOs succeed and so on in Europe, but more in the US. So some of your thoughts about the IPO side in Finland?
Yeah, I think we will start seeing them in Europe, then Sweden comes before Finland, and then Finland comes the last. Some very, very early positive signs we're seeing when we work with the entrepreneur community here in Finland. For example, during the past few weeks, I've been involved in doing an IPO offer for 3 companies, which is a lot compared with last year, but those offers were for companies, 2 of them aiming to go public on the first half of 2026, and 1 of them aiming to go public on the first half of next year. So it's a really long game we need to play. In Finland, we're not expecting any IPOs in the first half. Hopefully a few in the second half, and that would encourage other companies to follow, because we know that on the company side and on the entrepreneur side, there is appetite to go public. People are just too afraid that in these market conditions it would fail. So we need someone with the courage to go and open up the IPO windows in Finland. I'm sure that if there is a good quality company that is reasonably priced, there's no doubt it will be a successful IPO. That's also the sentiment from the investor side.
So what you're also seeing, and what you're also seeing, let's talk a little bit about, because I think it is a big driver for you. So are you seeing a little bit bigger companies, longer ahead in their process, more profitable? Is that the type of companies that is in your pipeline, or you might say the pipeline to go on the stock market? Is that what you're seeing, and maybe a little bit less of the growth paths of the market that was in the last, you might say, IPO wave?
I'd say there are a handful of like large cap or bigger companies in Finland that might IPO. That would be great for the whole ecosystem. And then there's a lot of it's small growth companies but profitable. So companies with negative cash flow and valuation based on far away cash flows. For those, it's a more tough conditions. But I'm sure that there is demand for like profitable growth. So I think that's the situation. But it's been surprisingly long dry period, but at some point it will turn.
And that the history has shown us it will. Yeah. So there I need to give you right, Mike. Perfect. Thank you. That was the question, and thank you for taking us through the numbers. May everybody have a nice day.
Should we still go through the strategy?
Oh yeah, we can take the strategy slides. Yeah, let's do that, Mike.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether you wanted to stop on the numbers or also go through them. So that was my mistake, not asking.
Yeah, no problem. I just stopped on if we want to go through a bit more detailed questions. But this is mainly a reminder where we stand. So this is the evolution of Inderes long term, the path that we're going, starting off with one product in Finland focused, then expanding the product portfolio to cover 4 products. So research, IR events, AGMs, IR software, and then successfully growing with that portfolio, Finland focused all at that time. And then when we started to see that like now we're having such a strong market share, the limits of growth are coming against us in Finland, and then was the time to start expanding geographically, and that's where we started the journey outside Finland. In Denmark, together with you guys, HC Andersen team. It's been really fun working with you, and then in Sweden we did an acquisition on the events business and started to organically grow the research part of it. And this is the product portfolio and the number of customers on each product. So in Finland, we are very mature stage in equity research, IR events, approaching mature stage in AGM, still growing strongly in Finland there, and in IR software we are in the ramp up phase with this product portfolio. But once those are or mature states, then kind of like Finland is in a really strong position. In Sweden, equity research is in a from pilot to ramp up phase. IR events is in a growth phase of the strategy. We are the market leader, but there's a lot of work to do in that market still. AGM we're piloting in Sweden, and IR software we're working on building up the local products needed for the market. So we're not yet present on that product.
And to understand your maybe AGM products, and maybe I should know it better, but it's another part of our department who takes it all. is there a market outside the public market? Big companies, AGMs, not listed companies. I know they will probably not have a spread such a diverse and a lot of owners. So you need a tool to control all the votes and so on. But could there actually be a bigger market than the equity research, which is focused on the public market? Just to understand that. Could there be some AGMs running without it being a public company?
There is a market for private company AGMs, but it's not a big market. It's very ad hoc because it means that it has to be a private company that has a lot of shareholders, several, like tens of or hundreds of shareholders. Then our product makes sense. But that being said, like we do have done a handful of AGMs for non-listed companies. We've done a fully remote AGM for a private company operating in Finland and the US, so that all the participants on the AGM were accessing it remotely. Our production crew and our AGM crew was at our office. The customer was at their office in the US and at their office in Helsinki, and then their legal advisor was in one office. Like the whole process was handled remotely, which in a way was a way for us to demonstrate the scalability of this product, because if you can do everything remotely, that makes things way more scalable and kind of like software based.
Well, I understand it is a very diverse. It's hard to target the market there, so to find the clients. Yeah, makes sense.
Cool. And then regarding Denmark, in all of these product areas, we are making progress together with HC Andersen, our partner there locally. So good progress happening there as well. And maybe we can conclude with the financial targets. So they remain unchanged, and dividend was actually paid on Monday. So for all shareholders, the first part of this year's dividend should be at your accounts. All right. So now I'm ready to conclude.
No, you're ready to conclude. I will shut up. There actually hasn't been any questions. I think we handled them while I thought we had the intermediate break. So if you are finished, Michael, then I want to say thank you for taking us through your results and answering questions, and thank you for people listening in.
Thank you, Michael. See you next time.
See you.